4 o'clock. Welcome to study session. Superintendent.
Okay, we've got 2 items tonight for the board, and we're going to start off with a presentation from Blind Mule. They are a third party that was brought in to provide some support and evaluation for our special education services. And I'm going to have our Executive Director of Legal Services, Craig Brinkerhoff, kind of introduce our guest in the presentation, and we'll go from there. Sound okay?
Yeah.
And then I'll introduce the second topic when we're finished.
So we have Glenn Dyke here today, who's owner-operator of Blind Mule. I think that's correct.
Yeah.
He's going to go through some of his presentation today. He came into Alpine School District, did kind of an audit review / overview of what our practices and procedures are in our special ed, and particularly with behavioral intervention. And so he's going to go through that with us today, talk through some of the things that he saw, some of the things we were doing well, some of the things we needed improvement on, and we've kind of put a plan together, or he's put a plan together for us that we've been working on. So I'll let him kind of go through that and talk about the plan, where we're at right now, and where we still need to go. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks for allowing me to come and share with you what we have been working on. So my name's Glenn Dyke, and I'm an educator. Started teaching in 1995 in Granite School District at Hillsdale Elementary, and kind of found a niche in behavior. I'm giving you a little bit of background so I could justify the name Blind Mule Behavioral Services. It's not a typical name, but I've been told that I probably should have some type of disclaimer so there's no misunderstandings about what it means. It's really, because I am an educator, I'm not a business practitioner, so my business acumen is on the small side. But when I left the State Office of Education after a period of time, and returned back to the school setting, but in a private sector, in a private way, I had to pick something that was meaningful to me because I'm passionate about public education. And in doing so, thought long and hard, and there's nobody more influential than mentors that you've had in your life. And so when I first started teaching, I had some incredibly fantastic mentors in my life. One of them in particular, his name is Dr. Ken Revis. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with Dr. Ken Revis's work. He was here in Utah, and his work with me was quite influential. I knew him for a very short period of time before he passed away. But as we were out and about, he's mentoring me we would go to other school districts. We would help problem solve really hard, challenging kids and help teachers develop plans. And he would say things like, "Don't worry about the mule going blind, just load the wagon." And I'm like, and I was young in my career. I looked up to him. I certainly didn't want to ask what that meant. And then he passed away way too young.
Is that R-E-V-I-S, Revis?
Yes. Yeah.
Revis.
Do you know Ken Rev?
No,
Ken Revis?
I'd like to find out more.
Yeah, Ken Revis is. He's the author of. He worked at the State Board of Education or State Office of Education for a period of time in the at-risk section. That was when it was titled that. Dr. Ginger Road. Anyone familiar with Dr. Ginger Road? Dr. Ginger Road and Ken were married. They were married. Well, of course, they were husband and wife. But he passed away way too young in early 2000. And so my opportunity to get to know him was very small, but his influence on me was just profound. So I started teaching in 95. He passed away in 2000, so very short 5 years. But he was that type of influential person. And so anyways, I know nothing about mules. But what it comes to mean to me is, like, sometimes we complicate things so much that we paralyze ourselves into action, and we don't get the basic things done that we need to get done. And so for me, that's the approach that I try to take in everything that I do, and all under the guise of our mentors that have had a profound influence. So really, this is about, those mentors. So anyways, that's what Blind Mule is about. Let's just kind of get into the work that we've been doing. Is that good?
Let's do it.
Okay. don't hesitate to ask questions. If you do have questions, please feel free to ask, clarify. I'm going to go through certain sections pretty quick, and then we can leave some time for discussions or anything along those lines. So I was asked to come in to do an evaluation. The specific focus of the evaluation was our self-contained classrooms. So it was and when I say self-contained classrooms, it's those special education classrooms that special education students spend at least 50% of their day or more in those classrooms for extra support. That support could be because of behavioral, that support could be because of communication, that support could be because of academics. So, but where they're spending most of their time. So it was focused in those classrooms, and the extension of those things was also related to transportation as a related service. So we were looking at those classrooms and the transportation services, transportation as related services, and how those services are being provided so that we can ensure the safety and access of those students within our schools. So that's our main focus. When we did that, we particularly looked at a few different areas. We looked at what we refer to as PBIS practices. We're familiar with positive behavior interventions and supports practices. What sort of PBIS practices are happening in those self-contained classrooms? Because they are challenging classrooms to work in. The other things that we looked at is emergency safety interventions. State Board of Education published a rule code R277608 that has all sorts of requirements with that. So we also looked at those emergency safety interventions. Mostly if they occur, they typically, and this is across the board, occur with that population of students, specifically kids with behavior challenges, or I'm also going to say a lot of kids with communication challenges. That's where we also see where those emergency safety interventions occur. And mostly what I'm referring to is like restraint type of situations when you have a child who is at risk of hurting himself or somebody else, and somebody has to physically intervene. So how is that being communicated? How is that being documented? So we looked at that channel. Other things that we looked at were transportation services. How are those interactions happening? Training for the transportation personnel. And then also the degree to which policy aligns with practices that we have in that place. So our main focus was to just look at for strengths, opportunities, areas for improvement, so that we could put an action plan together to address any of those gaps that may be present. So we looked at document review, whether it was emergency safety intervention documents. We looked at documents regarding PBIS and transportation. We looked at professional development that occurs throughout. So professional development that occurs for building administrators, because building administrators are an important key when it comes to providing support to those teachers in that self-contained classroom. So we looked at professional development for building administrators. We looked at professional development for our transportation personnel, whether they're drivers, whether they're attendants. And we also looked at training for our classroom personnel, the teachers in those classrooms and also the paraeducators in those classrooms. And I'll go through some specifics too. We did classroom observations in those self-contained classrooms. So we randomly selected classrooms and did classroom observations, specifically in the behavior classrooms, the autism classrooms, and the skills classrooms. We did interviews across all of those stakeholders. So if it's administrators, both at the building, district administrators, and then also our emergency safety intervention committee administrators. We did interviews with teachers, paraeducators, parents. Parents are an important part of this communication process, making sure that that concerns are being addressed. If there are concerns that are happening, one of the things that we have to make sure that we're doing is we're documenting and communicating to parents that certain emergency safety interventions had to occur. So making sure, so we reached out to parents, drivers, and attendants, and then we also observed bus routes, just looking at those interactions. So let me kind of get into some of the details with that. Our policy document that we looked at was ASD policy 5185, and we're looking at that in relationship to its alignment for R277608, making sure that Alpine School District has a policy that aligns with those things. We specifically looked at the emergency safety intervention protocols. If there is an emergency safety intervention that occurs, is it filled out? Does it get sent to the correct people? We looked at foundational behavior supports training. So foundational behavior supports training is part of that R277608 rule. And it just says that anybody that works with a kid needs to be trained in what we call foundational behavioral supports. And they go through a documentation process. We looked at training from prior years. And we looked at that in relationship to positions that are currently employed. So things that we were looking at is if we have self-contained teachers and paraeducators, how many of those have attended certain trainings? The goal here is that they're in a high-risk situation for emergency safety interventions to occur. We need to make sure that they are trained. So we're looking at that from prior years. We're looking at transportation, training dates, and documentation. Same thing. We didn't look at all transportation routes. We only looked at those transportation routes for those self-contained classrooms. So if a kid receives, listen to me, sorry. If a child receives transportation as related service on their IEP, so an IEP team would make that determination that the child needs transportation on his to get to school. Well, the people that transport him just need to make sure that they also have some training and background, and with regards to if there are any accommodations, if there's any behavior plan that needs to be in place, if there are things that they need to be aware of in that transportation process. And then so those are the documents that we reviewed. We randomly selected 22 of these self-contained classrooms, and I'll get in the data and I'll share the data with you. It's probably a little more exciting, maybe. We randomly selected 22 of these self-contained classrooms to go in and observe. What we were looking for is active and passive engagement. So we want to okay, what type of engagement is happening in these classrooms? We are also looking at rate of problem behavior, and as we're in there looking and observing, what degree of problem behavior, like escalations or physical aggression, non-compliance, those types of things do we see in the classrooms. We're also looking at what we refer to as rate of reinforcement in the classroom. So that is the degree to which the teacher and the student or the child are interacting in positive ways through instruction. So if I'm providing instruction to students, the degree to which I am interacting with my students, and we use the term reinforcement, we would refer to that as positive interactions, pleasant interactions following those instructional interactions. So we looked at rate of reinforcement within the environment. We looked at instructional practices across the board, environmental engineering, how it is set up, and those PBIS practices, which really is clarifying expectations for those instructional arrangements before we are reinforcing the occurrence. I say reinforcing before we are acknowledging, providing praise, providing positive feedback for our students demonstrating those behavioral expectations. So that being the PBIS practices.
Glenn, I got a question.
Yeah.
On the 22 sites,
Yeah.
randomly selected, was it distributed throughout the district
So
area?
we-
We had a really good sampling from.
Yeah, we tried to do a weighted between elementary, middle school, and high school, and then also east and west. So we tried to get a sample across all three.
So-
We also just try to focus. We have some schools that have 3 different classrooms
Yeah.
at them. That's because we knew that would be an easy get. Yeah, exactly. So we did also target those schools that had the majority, because we also had to do interviews with the administrators that also support those classrooms. So we wanted to make sure we get those in too.
So that 22 is about what percent
It's about 25%. Roy, is that right for all those classrooms?
22 of our small group classes. It's a little less, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 18 to 20%.
Yeah. So that's about what it is. Yeah. That's a good question. With our bus route observations, there are 116 different special education routes, but one route may have multiple bus drives on it. So for example, a morning route may pick up elementary kids, then go to the middle school, or then the high school, depending on dismissal times. We randomly selected 54 routes between morning and afternoon across east side and the west side routes. And of those 54 randomly selected bus routes that we picked, there were 72 actual different bus routes that were happening. So preschool would be separate from another. So preschool would get dropped off, and then that bus would pick up another group of kids. We would count that as 2, not 1. And does that help explain why of 54 routes we observed 72 bus travels, opportunities for drivers and attendants to interact with children? And then we also did a number of interviews with stakeholders. So this is the different stakeholders that we did interview with. And so what we're doing is we're just trying to triangulate data. We're just trying to get a pattern and ideas to where our strengths are, where are areas that we need to improve upon, and kind of go from there. And here's some of our data analysis and our summary and our findings. And by the way, there is a full report. You guys can have access to that full report. There's both an appendix that it's like a 90-page document that has all the data in it, and then also a report that has the recommendations. I'm pulling from both of those documents to share this information with you. Okay. So this would be our data from our staff. So when we're going in, we're observing teachers. This is our interactions. This is the teachers' interactions and paraeducators' interactions with students. And so what we have here is we have like welcoming, positive tone of voice, positive body language, builds rapport, and these are like percentages. Demonstrates enthusiasm, inquires about students. So those are really positive outcomes that we observed in these classrooms. No or limited interactions, raises voice. That was nice to see that, right? That we have very little like incidents that we observed where we would have one of those teaching staff members raising their voice towards a child.
Yep. Is this on the bus or in the classrooms? Because this is the same as the bus.
Oh, this is bus. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is bus. This is within the bus. Thank you. Raises. This is critical comments. This is negative tone of voice. So those are not too bad. It was nice to see that most of the interactions that we saw, we saw lots of missed opportunities. That's what we did see with our bus drivers and our attendants, and sometimes there's just not those interactions that are occurring, but very little of these raises voice, critical comments, negative tone of voice, which is great. That's a nice thing, of course, right? And then the kind of an average up here, so average positive interactions per staff is 12.25. So I want you to think about, this is what that means, is this, if I'm the driver and I have kids getting on the bus, per route, when I pick up kids, when I drop them off, I have 12.25 positive interactions with the children that are getting on the bus. Average negative interactions per staff in that same time period was 1.3. So that kind of clarifies the ratio between my interactions, if I were the driver, between my positive interactions and my negative interactions. Average positive negative ratio was 8.05 to 1. That's just a ratio between those two things. And then AM routes demonstrate stronger interaction ratio than PM routes. We notice that in the morning, like it's a lot easier to be positive. Kids, I'm also gonna say that are like, they're tired getting on that bus in the morning, so they're probably a little bit more subdued. It might be a little bit easier to have those, but on the way home, those bus routes can get probably a little bit more rowdy, I'm gonna say. Is that fair to say? Yeah. And then 2 staff buses show significant stronger ratios than one staff buses. So when you have 2 people on that bus, obviously the ratios go up than if you just have 1 person on the bus. Some of our buses need 2 people on there. They need a driver and an attendant. Some of them just have a driver. So this would be a classroom ecology structure. So the idea is we're looking at what are the structures within the classroom. And so we have appropriate student-teacher ratios, really strong there. Behavior-specific praise was not as strong as there was positive feedback, but one of the things that we like to see is behavior-specific positive feedback, because it teaches and strengthens the behaviors for which we are targeting when we are using it from a behavior-specific. So that students know exactly what it is that they need to do when we are using behavior-specific praise and positive feedback. Courtesy and respect, enthusiasm for content, established classroom routines, genuine interest in the students, high rates of positive praise. We would like to see that higher in those classroom settings. Individual work systems are smaller. There tend to be, I will say that some of the classrooms, when we were whole group, there were more distractions than if there were small group instructions. So we noticed that when a teacher would schedule small group instructions, the amount of engagement and positive interactions that occurred during that time were higher. When the teacher was teaching to their entire class, trying to do whole group instruction, it was more difficult for the students to be engaged during that time period. So smaller group settings work better than whole group settings. And any questions with that? Those sets of data. All right.
Oh,
Yeah, you bet.
with itness?
Yeah, right. That's a subjective term.
I just thought this is
I
a
know,
word I'm
it's
not
a
familiar with.
subjective-
I was wondering if it's one you teenagers come up with this new
Right,
term
I
or
know.
something,
Me
you
too.
know?
Us teenagers. So with itness, it's it's the eyes in the back of your head. It's the teacher that knows 3 steps ahead of what's happening, what's going to happen, and can clearly communicate what she wants her, or what he or she wants their students to do. So we kind of coined that with itness, if that makes sense.
And zone supervision right next to it.
So the zones of supervision would be so let's say you had a classroom setting. We just are there places where supervision is not happening, where students are, that type of a thing. So are we able to supervise our students when they're in there? Yeah. And that was fairly strong. Okay. Any other questions? Good, thank you for clarifying that.
I'm actually a teacher, so I
Yeah,
want to have a
yeah.
high rate of withitness.
Yeah, right,
I want to
right.
set a goal for that.
Yeah, well, yeah, and if everyone accused you of having eyes in the back of your head,
That I'd be
you
with
got,
it.
yeah, you'd have withitness, right?
Can you tell me again what the individual work systems?
Yeah.
So that would be so we're talking special education. So every kid has an IEP, right? So an individualized education plan. And so there are goals, there's programming that you work on to help that student meet those individualized goals. So if we are working, so what we coded that as, if we're in there observing and we see a particular staff member working with the kid on those goals, then we counted that as the individual. Yeah.
That's where you said small class better.
Yeah, and the thing is within your students you may have 12. Within the larger high school, sometimes you have 2 teachers, but you got 24 students in there. Hopefully, the ratios don't go beyond that. But you're going to have groups of students who are working on similar goals. Doing small group instruction was more effective than trying to teach all 12 and 24 at the same time. And I think that makes sense. I mean, that makes sense, right? And you know, that's what we saw. Yeah. So, thanks. Okay, so let's kind of get through this. With the, and here's the smaller group, the more active engagement was taking place with the smaller group. Parents surveyed, so we also did a parent survey. With the parent survey, we ran 3 different parent groups, and then we also did an online and 2 in-person parent work groups where parents can show up, ask questions, and it was just open, we just listened. Is what we did, and then we also had a survey that we sent out to the Utah Parent Center. So the Utah Parent Center would send a survey out to parents. It was specifically targeting the parents of our kids in those self-contained classrooms. And between the 3, we probably had about 12 parents, each one around between 8 and 12, and then online we had about 22. So we just had the survey up there when they attended, and I'm trying to think of the exact number, but we had about 40 participants complete the survey. So within the 40% completing the survey, 36% of responders indicate that district did not handle parents' concerns about the special education services effectively. And then 33% of responders indicated that transportation did not handle parents' concerns about transportation effectively. 33% of responders indicated that the district was somewhat timely with regards to responding to concerns. 21% of responders indicated that the district was not timely with regards to responding to concerns. 81% of responders indicated they felt very comfortable, so I think that's an important thing to focus on, right? 81% felt very comfortable, and then 31. Let's see, that would be, so these must be our numbers, so I couldn't do the math off my head, but 31 were comfortable, somewhat comfortable, and then communicating concerns. 16% said they did not feel comfortable. That slide doesn't make sense to me. I would have to clarify my numbers for it to really make sense. But 42% of responders indicated that Alpine School District sometimes versus rarely never follow through on commitments or action steps related to concerns. So we listened. We created that survey, we put that survey out, those are the responses that we got. I think what's important to understand is the communication channels are really important. You got classroom teachers who are doing a really good job, based off of the observation data, and when our communication channels break down, we sacrifice trust that we have in parents, and that may be a misguided type of outcome because of that. So we all know that it's important to be transparent. It's important to make sure that we're communicating in a transparent way with parents, especially as it relates to like emergency safety interventions, and especially as it relates to our practices within the school setting.
So I assume you've done this before with other districts?
Yes, yeah. So,
How do these numbers compare to what you see other places?
I'm gonna say like the numbers as it relates to like the parent survey, that's a hard one because that's an area that we haven't waded into a lot, but I could speak more freely to as it related to the classroom settings. Within the classroom settings, I was pleasantly surprised about you guys seems like you guys have a really good partnership with BYU. I'm going to say that are working with our teachers that teach students with severe disabilities, and it seems as if we saw a lot of really good, fantastic teachers come because those are follow-up questions that we asked. It's not in here, but we wanted to know if we saw a really good teacher, we're like, where did you do your schooling? Where did you get trained? Did you just there are some people who are just really good. Some people have training, right? And they're also really good. And the common element was BYU is a really good partnership and is feeding and putting out really good, strong teachers. I will say that, and I was quite pleasantly surprised with a number of those classrooms. Having said that, there are also challenges within there. Some of the challenges within there is probably paraeducators are one of those resources that are probably an area that is, you have somebody working with students and don't have a whole lot of training. So putting training in their hands can really have a pretty significant impact. So hope that answers the question. Yeah. And this in this right here, this data right here, this is you guys also have a partnership. Alpine School District has a partnership with Utah Parent Center, Parent Advocate. I know that this is kind of in the works, but this is the student population. This is the amount of hours that we have dedicated, and so Alpine is in a sense what we have is Alpine. That teacher advocate or that parent advocate that you have is working really hard. 25 hours a week for 93,000 students, and if you did a comparison, the idea would be is here you have 40 to 74. Here you have 20 to 26,000. So that's an area that does need to be considered as you go forward. And I know that you guys have a district split coming up. One of my recommendations is going to be each split would benefit from having its own parent advocate to help parents access resources, to help parents access resources within the community, help access resources within the school, and help them navigate that whole system, because it can be quite confusing, and it also can be quite overwhelming too for parents, not knowing what to do. So that's my last set of data. But here's kind of where we get with our recommendations. As it relates to the policy compliance, it is like we've gone through the current policy 5185 has been reviewed a couple different times as edits, and it is one of the things that's on the docket tonight. It has met each of the standards that we laid out. We just did a side-by-side comparison between R277608 and 5185 to make sure that it meets all those requirements. There is some language in there that defers back to R277608. I'm okay with it because R277608 is going to change before you change your 5185 changes. Does that make sense? They're always changing those policies. So sometimes it's better to defer there than always having to update your policies, if that makes sense. Yeah. Regardless though, training needs to focus on R276608 and how Alpine School District's policies is in alignment with that. That would be the key part there. I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna pick because I know I'm out of time. So ESI training, one of the things that Alpine School District has done is they've trained 20 different they've sent 20 different trainers away to get trained in what we call safety care. Safety care is a national program that focuses on teaching emergency crisis intervention. And there are competencies established and built in with those things. So you, as a trainer, you have to pass off certain competencies, and as that trainer, you also have to pass off certain competency of the people that are taking that training. So it's not just attend the training and you're done, but there's a test, a physical demonstration test, there's a written test that has to be taken, as well as competencies that also have to be demonstrated for someone to do that. And so Alpine School District is in the process. They've already trained about 300, is that right, Roy? 300 some odd staff, critical staff that are working with these more at-risk kids to provide them the tools necessary for them to be successful with their students, and with the goal of actually training up to 800,000 people,
About
right?
1,000,
Yeah, it's a big,
Oh.
it's a big piece, yeah.
Is that in-house training?
Yeah, yeah, and that's a, you know, if I go across district-wide, that's not out of the norm by any means. That's what needs to happen. Yeah. There are multiple districts that use, Davis School District uses it, Granite School District uses it, Salt Lake City School District uses it, Canyons uses it. They use the same training and train the same
When you
staff.
say it, what is it?
Safety care. Safety care. The program is QBS is the publisher, the proprietor, and it stands for Quality Behavior Services. But their program in particular is called Safety Care, and it's a crisis management program. And it's required by our state rules and regs, the R277608, that you have a program that you train your staff on, and so it's meeting that requirement. The other things that have happened, and I'm going to leave it at that so I can let the other group present. But the other two big pieces that have been put into place as well, and I think these are really hard pieces, it's a communication system. Anytime that there's an emergency safety intervention plan or emergency safety intervention that does occur, there is a document that is completed, and it's within your Alpine School District forms. And what ends up happening is when it is completed, the teacher, the building admin receive a copy of it. The teacher fills it out. Building admin sends a copy of it. It automatically goes to your student services director, and if it's a special education student, it also goes to the director over that program. So if it's an East Side kid, it's going to go, or what are you? The three different, depending on where it goes. It'll go to that area director as well. That's an important piece. It's not, I don't think it's good enough just for it to go to the student services director, because I'm gonna say 90% of those that come in, of those emergency safety interventions that come in, they're special education students. So that director over those programs need to know who it is so they could be responsive to those school teams in a timely manner, as opposed to getting that information secondhand from a student services director. So, and those meetings are happening on a schedule, on a frequent scheduled basis. Monthly, are we?
Sped department meets every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks to go over those
The
things.
ESI
Yeah.
committee meets,
Yeah.
reviews digitally monthly, and then quarterly for our face-to-face meeting
Yeah.
to review all.
Yeah, and the key part is that 90% of those are special education students, and I'm going to say of those 90%, I'm going to say probably 95% of those kids are probably kids that are in these self-contained classrooms. That's where the majority of them are coming, but that's also where the training is focused. So those are key pieces. The last thing that's happened also is, and I'll leave it at that, and then I'll kind of go to my last slide, which is just like next steps. Is just transportation. Transportation also is included in that whole process. So anytime there's an emergency safety intervention on a bus, that they have a procedure and a protocol where that bus pulls over, the director is getting out and after it's over, notifying the parent, but also the transportation director is handing the driver that document to fill out. Once that document gets entered, it follows that same procedures, those same channels. So the student services director, the building administrator for that program is notified, the student services director is notified, and also the special education team is notified from that. So that communication piece is happening. In addition, parents are also notified, and that's a really important piece that I left off. So those are all really important pieces to kind of communicate upstream, downstream as it relates to when those incidents are happening. And then the third thing also has to do with just transportation in general. When a student needs transportation services, it is the IEP team's role to determine that. Nobody can take that role away from them. So that case manager, it's their role to actually go through and say, yes, the team agreed that this person needs related transportation as a related service. So we are submitting this information, so transportation has a copy. So that means relevant goals, relevant behavior plans, relevant healthcare information. So that information is flowing to transportation, so transportation can get them in the routing system. Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, but within the form system that you guys have in place, that pathway is there. We're in the process of teaching, so the coaches and the support personnel are working on how to roll that out to teachers, so when teachers come back for their legislative days, that teachers are getting that information entered into the system, so that we'll have a smoother routing system. It'll just continue to feed itself. It's gonna take a year before it gets going though, just because of training personnel on getting the information in timely, and then that information being used. So last, I'm gonna forward. I'm more than happy to share this, but the idea was next step is continuous monitoring of activities through 2030. The passage of policy 5185, which I believe is happening today, so I'm going to speak fast, and then continuing bi-weekly to monthly to quarterly meetings with the special education and transportation personnel. The other piece on here is that you guys have hired a new special education director for Alpine for the Aspen Peaks. Thank you. So with that, if that person is taking over in 2027, it would be appropriate to have collaborative planning meetings so that there is a continuation of those supports in place, so those things aren't dropped. I have been already, Royd and I had already talked about that. Royd has already reached out to them and invited them. It would benefit Alpine's Aspen Peaks for that continuity to occur through 2030, starting 2027. But including them now would be ideal. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
These are the four next steps.
Those are the four next steps. Yeah,
Okay.
those are the big things. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Glenn,
Yeah,
thank
any
you.
other questions? Yeah.
I was gonna say.
So, you talked about meeting with parents and stuff.
Yeah.
Did you meet with the parents that have filed complaints or lawsuits
Yeah,
against us?
we did. We met with them, and then met with a number of many other parents. Yeah.
So is any of this, required or a part of a negotiation or something, or is this a separate process?
I know this is. I mean, do you want to answer that question? I don't know what would be the best way to answer that question.
We've agreed to, as part of our partnership with parents, that we're gonna improve some of our processes, and that's part of the reason why we brought him in to
Yeah.
say,
That's what I
what are
wondered
the
about.
things that we need to improve? And so he's helped us identify what those needs are, and so now we're putting them into practice, and that's kind of what he showed a little bit of the things that we've already done, the forms, the training, some of those things have already been put in place and are being implemented right now. There's still more things to implement.
Yeah.
But we've checked off, I don't know, probably.
Some big rocks. So
Yeah.
we've displaced a lot of water with some big rocks, but there's some pebbles that need to be filled in.
Yeah, so there's still some things to do.
So are you gonna be part of the process, like, for the next year at least? trying
Through
to-
2030.
Through 2030.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And most of it's going to move to monitoring, just making sure that we kind of keep those things in place. And that's why I think that the transition between the new special education director and assistant director, getting them on board to help do that collaborative planning as it relates to this programming piece would be helpful, so that we're not having to pedal backwards when we switch gears.
So will you be working with all three districts then after 27?
I would only be working with Aspen Peaks. Yep.
Yeah, so a lot of this stuff we will have implemented in Alpine, so obviously all three can adopt the new practices.
Okay.
They're, especially the things that were already set up, the forms, the communication with transportation, the ESI policy, all those things are being implemented now. So those new sped directors can adopt them and run with them, but specifically, he's tasked with following Aspen Peaks.
So hopefully the goal is students that are safer, and
Yep.
teachers and educators who are safer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's our goal. Yeah, and there's always that's the thing. It's like when we work with kids with disabilities, though, we have kids who, as part of their disability, are aggressive as well
Unpredictable.
and unpredictable, right? As just a part of their disability, and so making sure that we're doing what we can to address those needs. Yeah.
One other piece I would
Yeah.
add to that is parents, connecting parents a little
Yeah.
bit better in the process. So
Absolutely.
the two that you
Yeah.
mentioned, but I would say also improving those communications and connections with their parents.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we would just want to give good thanks to Glenn for coming, presenting to us all the work that he's done. They've been working on this since last fall,
Yeah.
when we started. So this has been in the process for a long time, and we're really starting to see
Yeah.
the implementation right now. Thank you to Craig and the board for some of the funding that's been going into this
Yeah.
as well. And a big shout out to Roy Darrington and his team, because
Yeah.
they're implementing the safety care training right now. They've organized it. They've got the trainers trained. Now they're scheduling all of our administrators to get trained. So a huge shout out to Roy. And then Roy, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
No, it's just a good process. I think anytime you can look at, bring external eyes into your system and look at things that you're doing and ways to improve, it's a great process. And so, I'm grateful for Glenn and his team. I've known Glenn for a while, and he brings good expertise, and these are things that were needed changes, that were needed supports, and it's all for the betterment of kids. So.
Yeah, when we had this opportunity to bring somebody in, we said, why not? Because why wouldn't we do things that would better kids' interactions with teachers, interactions with transportation staff, and make their experience better? So, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Thanks, Glenn. All right, next up, and welcome Julie. And do we have Emily online? Perfect. I just wanted to say Emily Peterson's online with us, so thank you to our techs that are helping us out tonight. And next up we have our elementary science team, and we are super excited to have Sam Rencher. Do you want to do like a kickoff here, or do you want Jenny just to go ahead, or what's your thoughts here?
We are so lucky in Alpine to have this science team. They are the best team of science that's ever been put together. They're brilliant. They just finished the summer training with all of our elementary teachers and did such a brilliant job. And they're developing a curriculum, which is just impossible to do. But I'll let them show that off. And so this is LJ and Jenny and Danielle. So come on.
Thank you so much for that, Sam. We just got through with a conference that we did all together, but we're not really here to talk about the conference. We're here to share a story with you about a full comprehensive curriculum that we have finally gotten together for our school district. It's the very first time we've ever had a comprehensive curriculum. What we'd like to answer today are a few questions like, why did we do this? What did we build? How did we prepare our teachers and how did they respond to it? Where are we now and what comes next? But at the center of all of this work is one simple goal, which is giving every elementary student in Alpine access to high quality, engaging, standard-aligned curriculum. Sam already introduced us. This is just putting names to faces. So let's just jump into why did we write Alpine School District Open SciEd? And it's because that the students deserve a science that is engaging, investigative, and aligned to today's standards. We want our children to learn how to go into classrooms and go into the world and have all kinds of ways to answer questions that are out there in the world. Second, the teachers deserve support. For years, elementary teachers have had to piece together science from many different resources. Imagine for a moment giving all of our elementary school teachers the math standards and just cutting them loose to go do what they think is necessary to teach math. That's what we've been doing with our science educators. Am I about to walk backward? All right. Third, Alpine, well, I didn't want to be under this. Touching my head.
Cord kept
The third reason why we did this is because our Alpine deserved a coherent K-6 program built especially for our Utah classrooms. Utah science has seed standards that are different than our national standards, and no one has ever addressed that. So we needed that for our teachers. Thank you.
I'll be your
From resources to a coherent curriculum. Before ASD Open SciEd, teachers were working incredibly hard. They invested so much time and energy trying to pull from all of the resources that we gave them to build a curriculum within their classroom. But of course, we ended up with 1,000 different ways to do science because every teacher was doing it differently. Today, we have created one coherent curriculum that is aligned to the Utah Seed Standards and helps teachers know when to use the other resources to in their most meaningful way. This is not about replacing teacher expertise. It's about removing the burden of building the entire program from scratch. The result is that every elementary student has access to a more consistent, high-quality experience.
What's the OER?
That's Open SciEd.
No,
over here. Oh, right here, thank you. This is an online textbook written by the state that teachers can access. It covers each of the standards very simply and can be used by any teacher that wants to go online and have access to it. Yeah, it's not a curriculum, it's just a very simplified textbook for the teachers so that they know. Okay. Sometimes it's the very first introduction these teachers have to what they're supposed to be teaching. What do microorganisms look like, or heat, light, and sound on a 3rd grade level? Okay. All right, what the summer training was designed to do was explain why we were doing this. We wanted the teachers to understand that it's just not another resource. This is a curriculum that will build on the grade before them and continue on the grade after them. It was a big picture so that they feel part of the bigger picture as children build their science knowledge. Second, we needed to reduce the overwhelm. We didn't give all the teachers everything they have to teach right away. We're rolling it out one unit at a time because there's a lot happening in our district, as you guys know, and we wanted to make sure they didn't feel overwhelmed. So they're all getting 1/4 of the curriculum to start. And third, the teachers needed to be oriented to the tools that they'll actually be using. They needed to see the teacher manual, the student materials, the pacing, the website, all of the teacher slides, and all of the routines that go with the new curriculum. So that's what the conference was about. The core message of the training was that teachers are not being handed one more thing. They are being given a complete system of support. This was our big message to all of the teachers. You don't have to do everything all at once. You are getting a coherent system with support, and materials do matter. This was a big concern among our teachers, and one of the reasons why science sometimes doesn't get taught was the materials. The training was intentionally honest about the size of the work, but also very clear about the support. Teachers have a shared sequence, lesson design, material guidance, student-facing materials, teacher-facing supports, and a website that organizes all of the curriculum. We would also emphasize that teachers should not be personally funding science materials. They matter if we want students to actually do the science. Danielle.
So I get to talk about our conference. So what we did was we needed to think about this launch and how we would best help teachers take a small step forward, but feel confident in going forward with this past this time. So we set up a conference style professional learning. Each of them had their own individualized schedule where they got to partake in choice breakout sessions. So different sessions from the USBE came down, we had some specialists, we had different ones for our district support solutions. We also had about 50 total presenters from our science lead teacher leadership, helping build out the grade level learning. And then we had a fabulous keynote from Sam Renter. And then we also ended it with school collaboration time, where they were able to do vertical alignment, but also work with their own teams. When they were in grade level learning, they attended with their teams, and they really appreciated the time that they had there, but also the time they had with their schools as well. So this is the kind of offerings that they had during that time. Go ahead, TJ. So we had copious amounts of teacher feedback, and the average comfort level was about 3.64. So we're running at like good 75%. When we're talking about elementary teachers who don't identify as science teachers, and often that is something they're not walking into comfortably, this is a really good place to be. It means we're ready to get started. They're ready to get going. Doesn't mean that they're all like, I've got this, get out of my face, Danielle, right? So, what these 3 teacher highlights we wanted to pull out from, if you notice the first one, it talks a lot about the relief. They felt relief of like, oh, someone's doing this, thank you very much. This looks like a lot of work and you did it for me. This looks like a system I can live with. So there was a lot of relief that we got. The next one was a lot about this shift in identity we saw from them and a shift in their instructional practice. They started to see what best practices in science looks like. And that has been a big shift with the new SEED standards. So this was exciting to us, for them to get now, oh, this looks different, this plays different, this is why the outcomes will be different. So identity shift and for themselves, but also for their students. Then the last one, they really liked the website. They were like, oh good, something exists that's usable, it's user friendly, I can engage with it, I know where to go. Half the time the implementation part feels overwhelming if it's not put in a place they can come back to easily. So that was a big positive, but,
Sorry.
no, that's perfect, that's great, nice.
Okay.
So across our 2,877 feedback responses, what they found was the most helpful was experiencing the lessons. And with that grade level support, taking the time for them to live and experience that unit, engage in what that looks like, that's also what created that identity shift. They love the collaboration time, the time with their teams to know how do I now put that into practice, and they love the website. But what they also told us is we need some common support needs. They needed pacing support. Often that pacing or how it plays into their own schedules feels overwhelming, and they were like, we would love more of that. The hardest part of this is it's so nuanced, it comes into a place where they need to sit with it and learn, see how it fits in the schedule, versus where they have scope and sequences that are provided, they need to see the pacing support look like in their own situations. Material support. Guys, if we had not really worked so hard with amazing administrators, this would have been our #1 across the board, and it wasn't. This is a huge win. When it comes to materials, people, if they don't have them, they just won't teach science. They walked into it being like, okay, wait, there is support in place, but help me now manage. What does the organization look like? Is it really gonna happen? What does that look like in long term? And then they needed more training. They want continued support, and those are the 3 main things that they asked about. So this is where I'm gonna hand off to LJ.
Thanks. Jenny and Danielle are going to pass out some copies of the teacher manuals. We just want to show you a little bit about what your teachers are being handed. So feel free to look through those as I'm talking. I'm not going to go to a specific page or anything like that. We just want to show you a small piece of what we shared with the teachers at the conference. You'll notice if you open up that front cover, most of them have a student notebook inside also. So teacher facing is the coiled bound, and then student facing is just stapled. We also want to highlight some of the different collaborations that we had to have to make all of this happen. So first, if you are in there, one of the things that we got a lot of feedback on is as you're going through the lessons, the teacher, anything the teacher could say is scripted in a red so that it's easy for them to find. But we also explained that doesn't have to be what they say. It does not have to be completely scripted. But if you're that teacher that's sitting up there and you're like, I have no idea how to respond to that kid right here in the moment, that is right there easy for you to find on the page. And that was one of the things that they really, really liked. Another thing is that all of those little, we call them our call-out boxes, our guidance boxes, they're labeled with literacy support, or this is a math support, or this is a multilingual support. It lists very clearly what those things are, and the teachers are able to identify really quickly, oh, I need that support right now, or oh, I don't need that support right now, I can move on to the next part. So they really liked the way that the manual was laid out. We did provide a printed copy for each conference participant, but with us being in learning-powered classrooms, all of this is
available digitally also. So we've been working with our ILCs, making sure that we are getting that onto the website correctly so that teachers can get that printed off. Another collaboration is with Jake. How do we get this to the print shop so that it is easy? Some of these units, there's like 60 files to print off when you get into the posters, the vocabulary words, the student notebooks. And so we've been in collaboration with Jake. How can we get this printed off the easiest that we can for our teachers? The final collaboration that I want to talk about just with the manuals is our DLI. So we've already been working with Erin and Alicia using the Deep L program to be able to have these translated as soon as possible. So they've already got a lot of the translations done. They are looking for other teachers in those DLI target languages that will go through and proofread, make sure that grammatically it's correct, make sure it's formatted. Not picking on anyone, but some of those languages use a lot more words than English does, right? Some of them use a lot less words or symbols or characters. And so just making sure it's formatted correctly on the pages and things like that. They're already doing that. They're ready to roll those out. They've already met with their DLI target teachers at the conference. That was one of the breakout options, was for them to be able to meet together so that the DLI teachers could be able to start this as soon as their English counterparts started it. And then, as you can see, our website, I'm kind of proud of that. I helped design that. So we've been fixing links and just putting things out just as quickly as we can. These are the different things that we had to either build ourselves or adapt from OpenSciEd. As we said before, taking those national standards, making sure that they are the Utah standards, that they're grade level appropriate, those types of things. So we've built or adapted, had our hands in all of these different types of things as we go through. Each piece does matter because implementation depends on more than just that curriculum writing. We need all of these pieces to be balanced and Utah seed aligned. The goal was to create something that supports strong science instruction while still being very realistic for our elementary teachers to use. Here's our implementation timeline. We've already had the conference rollout. We're getting into where implementation is going to begin. We have a lot of teachers that are ready to just dive in. They're just like, no, we just want to start, some of these practices in the first week. Even if we're not teaching hard, dedicated science, we want to get them started with some of these routines. So they're already planning on putting those routines into the very first week of school. For us, we will continue adapting this curriculum. We have 2 more 6th grade units to roll out, and then 3 more units in each grade level, kindergarten through 5th grade. And so that is, going back to that other slide, the manual, the student notebooks, the slides, all of those things, making sure that all of them are aligned and match well, and then putting those onto the website. We will continue to we're not going to wait until the end of the school year and then dump everything. Just as we finish a unit, we're going to get it out there for the teachers to start accessing. Even though the expectation is that they're only teaching 1 unit this school year, that will help them be able to start to preview it and get ready for it into the following years. As we said, we've got 1 instructional unit complete already. 2 of those units are complete and published for 6th grade. Our summer conference hopefully went really well, and that website is up and running. Teachers have that website. They can continually go back to it. Next, we need to finish up those 6th grade ones, the K through 5, publish those units. The goal is that the entire curriculum is finalized by the end of next school year, and then our next step then is collaborating with state and other districts on continuing this work into the 7th and 8th grade curriculum and possibly up into high school. We do have some other districts who have kind of started playing around with it and are reaching out to us to say how we set it up. so that it can actually just be one continuum.
And because of that new state law where they're requiring an open educational resource for all the content areas, the state is meeting with us to talk about how the systems we put in place will continue on and use it for where they're trying to build out the rest of those. So that's some of the collaborations coming up.
And I talked really, really fast. We all did. But my part is over, and that is the end. So if you have any questions, we would be happy to answer any of those.
It you say 1 unit, so they'll begin the year teaching this 1 unit?
No,
K-
we allowed them to choose when.
So-
We had a lot of teachers who wanted to start what they had first, their own systems, their own things, and then that was something that they did. It also allowed the flexibility of the administration of when they were going to get the materials for them. So we did not hold them to a timeline of when during the school year, just that they taught it during the school year.
And it's all one topic, correct?
One's
It's the same topic?
yes.
Yes, yes, each unit would be the same topic or the same group of standards that would align with each other.
Great.
Right, so
Yeah.
what you have in your hand is 1 unit, and there'll be 4 of those per grade level.
So when you have a split classroom, and so like you're a teacher, you're teaching like a 5-6 split, is the recommendation that is the goal to try to maybe get 1 unit in each grade level, or is it just, hey, we're just gonna do the 1 unit in 5th grade and,
The goal is 1 unit in 1 grade.
okay.
And the reason that is, they're going to shift their instruction when they teach it completely once. They're going to start to see and understand the revolutions because it's a very similar type. Oh, now I'm understanding how to storyline in Spanish. It's Spanish in science. I'm going to understand how this is playing out. It's going to help them in total. So if they're doing half and half, it's really hard to change that instruction. But with splits, often science is where it's taught separately. So even those split teachers who maybe not be a part of science, we're asking them to find a way to teach 1 unit next year in science. So a split, it comes with some complications for sure, but only 1.
Okay, you talked about the law. Can you explain that
Just
more?
there was new legislation asking that there was open educational resources for all core content areas. So science, being that that's not something that actually as a district we've ever had, like something for even 7th, 8th, 9th, they are able to use their expertise and go forward with it and put together pieces that we played. The best thing we ever did was mystery science to help teachers start to get that foot forward, but it was nationally aligned. So this helps them now because it's an open educational resource. It's not like a mystery science, which is paid for, right? Proprietary. This way now the state can be like, oh, this is a great system, let's start doing it for
So
other ones.
by open, they mean free?
They
Yes.
do mean free.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Free curriculum,
We
not
already
free
have-
materials, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I wish.
We already have a good number of districts across the state using it. So
Yes.
the website's live. They can access it anywhere because it's open.
So is this openscied.org?
That is the original website that's nationally aligned, right? And so ours is ASD Open SciEd because it's seed aligned. And it's, what's the actual website?
Yeah, it's like.
It's our alpineschooldistrict.org, and then the end is seed, OSE. So there's our seed standards and then Open SciEd. So seed aligned Open SciEd.
The ASD Open SciEd is like 100 times more useful. I mean, really, the teachers can get right in and use it.
We had many teams from 6th grade who have had their Open SciEd units for a long time. Open SciEd, the consortium, wrote 6th through 12th first, and then they just finished this spring, with their K-5 units. And so 6th grade's had them for a while, and we've had teams be like, we've tried to do this, we couldn't. This was usable. So it's usable.
Is there a component afterwards? I mean, I am totally impressed as I was looking through this. I think it's so awesome and it is very comprehensive. But is there some type of, maybe after this year that you have kind of feedback from a few of these teachers to be able to say, maybe we could tweak this a little bit, or what does that look like?
100%. There's a lot of reevaluating and like, as it's being used, let us change it because it's open resource. It's not, something proprietary. We can go in and fix it. We just didn't know where we were going to be enough to know how to put in systems like that. But we have some direction now. We'll see what we can put in place.
We also have on the front page of our website, just below this, is they can fill out one of two, either a frequently asked questions type of Google form, like I just don't know what to do with this, or an error or suggestion report. And we've already started trying to address some of those. And then putting on there, we have another table that says, hey, we have addressed this, but it's only in digital. I can't change your teacher manual, right? So go to the digital to look at what we had to change for that. So we have already addressed some of the feedback that is coming in, and we'll just continue to monitor that form, and as things come in, we'll try to address those as quickly as possible.
And as the data girl part of this team, we're already getting data back from the 6th grade teachers that used it last year. And our best number so far is a 41% increase between this unit, between the time that they didn't use OpenSciEd and when they did.
On their RISE testing.
Right. On their RISE testing.
Wow.
That was a good number.
Can you rewrite this?
We adapted.
Yeah, yes.
Yes. Yes.
I'm
Yes.
just like
Yeah, no,
so
yes.
floored.
There's a lot there that had to be
So-
written to alignment, right? But
Yes.
as copyright allows, we adapted.
Yes.
Wow.
Other questions from the board? I just want to share a small snippet. Sam brought me a draft. Sam, how many months ago was that? You brought me that?
January?
I think it was about 5 months, 6 months ago, something like that. And he brought me the first ever comprehensive science curriculum for elementary schools in Alpine School District. The first ever. I was blown away. And Sam could tell you my reaction. I looked at the first unit and I said, this is so powerful for our teachers and the supports they will feel, but for the student outcomes that they will bring about. And so as we talked about this and kind of watched it evolve and the tremendous effort and work led by Sam and these 3 wonderful humans, I was so excited they needed to come share this story with you, because when we talk student achievement, we talk student data, we talk about our moral purpose. This is what that looks like to the very highest degrees. And the influence that this will have on about 2,000 elementary teachers and about 40,000 elementary students in our final year. But what's ahead of them in the 3 new districts is immeasurable. And so because of that, I just wanted to take liberty and present these wonderful educators with the superintendent's coin for influence and excellence in their work. And so I just would like you to, I'm going to present them with a coin. Sam, you're going to be up here too. I'm going to give one to you too, because this was a team effort, and it's something that truly will carry influence in perpetuity. So with that, Danielle, Laura Lee, and Jenny and Sam, let's give them a round of applause.
Okay, bunch up.
Bunch up.
Yeah, bunch up.
My hands are
Let's
okay.
see the coin. Somebody show off the coin.
Oh.
Or all of you, yeah. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you. And with that, go on the website, check it out. It's super cool. Back to you. That's all we got.
All right, thank you everybody for being here. We will adjourn until board meeting at 6 o'clock.
I'd like to welcome you all here this evening. It is 6 o'clock on July 14th, 2026. I am calling to order the Alpine School District Board of Education meeting, and we are meeting at the district office located at 575 North, 100 East in American Fork. I also want to make sure that I excuse board members Lincoln and Peterson who were unable to attend the board meeting this evening. First up on our agenda, we have the Pledge of Allegiance being led by Michelle Stevenson, followed by an inspirational thought or reflection by Loretta McClure.
Please repeat the pledge after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Every student can learn, just not on the same day or in the same way. A quote by George Evans that has been posted in my classroom for the last 10 years. Recently, I had the opportunity to listen to a former student who graduated back in 2020. Her name is Nora Schultz, for the ones that might know her. She spoke in a leadership role at the Special Olympics Utah Summer Games. As she shared her experience of growth, she reminded me just how true this quote really is. She talked about the importance of patience and how over time she was able to develop her skills and confidence that she currently has. I see the same growth happen with my unified athletes every season, especially on my Special Olympics USA team members right here. It didn't happen overnight. It took patience, encouragement, and a belief that every individual can grow and succeed. Over time, they developed the skills to run an offensive play, to play a really tough defense, where some were a little bit worried that they might get fouled out or maybe not foul at all, and you want to be more aggressive. They eventually were able to communicate what they have learned to others, which is pretty powerful. Growth looks different for every student or athlete. Some may learn quickly, while others need more time, more support, or just a different approach altogether. But every student or athlete has the ability to learn, grow, and succeed. So I repeat that quote that I have on my wall in my classroom. Every student or athlete can learn, just not on the same day or in the same way. No matter what challenges life gives to us, let's be patient with ourselves and with others as we learn to trust others and trust ourselves. With time, effort, and support, we all can accomplish things that once we thought were impossible. Thank you.
Okay, tonight we are incredibly proud to celebrate the Special Olympics Utah basketball team for their phenomenal bronze medal finish at the national competition in Minneapolis last month. This exceptional team brought students together, unified sports athletes from both ATech West and Westlake High School. We honor these students for demonstrating the true power of inclusion, teamwork, perseverance, and athletic excellence on a national stage. Their hard work, dedication, and outstanding sportsmanship represented Alpine School District with poise. Loretta, I would love to invite you up at this time to share a little bit about your experience and tell us what happened.
I have a teacher voice, so I really don't even need this. Okay. So what to say about my team? The experience, for one, was amazing. The amount of growth that they have done, both athlete and partner, is phenomenal. When I first began and we're like, should we teach them how to set a screen? Thank you. Wow. Set a screen, and then all of a sudden they do it. We were like, wow. When we said, Roddy, don't be too aggressive on the court. Don't be fouled out. She didn't even get a foul. She had so much composure over her body. Or Riker, be a little bit more aggressive. And and he got a foul. I was out there jumping for joy that he got a foul. So I am so proud of my team. I am proud to represent not just Westlake and Alpine, but I'm really proud to represent the state of Utah in this very exceptional time that we got to represent our area on a national stage for the USA Games.
Perfect. You'll
So,
stay there.
Roddy, do you want me to call him up? Roddy, you can come up. Or her real name, Radislava Christine Papadopoulos, that I love to say. You can stand right there. Haley Britton. Oops, sorry. Riker Shepard. Brianna Wadley. We also have phenomenal coaches that have helped me. We have Darren Onley. And of course, the amazing Tyson Johnson. Oh, and there's one for me. But we also have some others. Can I just say their names really fast? So all of them could not be here. So we have Braden Anderson. We have Curran White. Eli Pickett. Haley, you're here, Haley, thank you. Harley Syhawk. Zachary Webb. Zayla Thomas. And so it's not just them, it's our whole team that got us the bronze. So give them another round of applause. Oh. I'll stand on this side by Miss Rose.
Here, 3, 2, 1. Anyone else that would like to get a photo can come up now.
Yeah, Lucas, come here. That's a good point.
Okay, we have no community comments. Next up, approval. Oh, if you guys want to hang here, it's cool. But if you want to take off, it's also fine. It's not inappropriate. You can totally. Yeah, we love you.
Most people don't stay.
Next up, we have the approval of minutes. Do we have a motion regarding the minutes?
I move that we approve the minutes.
I second the motion.
So we have a motion by Board Member Beeson and a second by Board Member Clement. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes with a motion by Board Member Beeson and a second by Board Member Clement, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that appears to pass unanimously. Next up, the claims superintendent.
Board members, you've received the claims for the month and would recommend that you accept the claims.
I move that we accept the claims.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Bateman and a second by Board Member Wilson. Any discussion?
These are the really long ones. End of year.
Accurate. Okay, we have a motion to accept the claims by Board Member Bateman and a second by Board Member Wilson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That appears to pass unanimously. Superintendent, our routine business.
Routine business items tonight consist of a budget report, the Alpine Foundation report, personnel hiring and releases, and then LEA-specific licenses. Would recommend the board approve the routine business.
Do we have a motion to approve the routine business?
I move to approve the routine business.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Board Member Bateman and a second by Board Member Beeson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the routine business with a motion by Board Member Bateman and a second by Board Member Beeson, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That appears to pass unanimously. Next up, we have discussion action items. We have several policies in place, so Craig, are you coming forward for us to grill you? You get to be in the hot seat. Craig, do you want to address these individually, or would you prefer to go through all of them and then we take motions? What's your preference?
We can do all of them, and I'll just kind of give a general overview, and then if you have specific questions of individual ones, then we can talk about them individually.
Great, thanks.
So lest you thought that you would get out early tonight, we have 9 policies. The first 2, all of these policies are pretty much tied to our legislative session, this past legislative session. So I'm just going to go real quickly through each one and which bill was attached to them. So 5156 was affected by SB 58. 5154 is a combination, so we actually are retiring that one because we took it and combined it with 5156. 5182 is a result of House Bill 299. 5185 is a result of Senate Bill 181, and this is also the one that we heard about today in study session with Blind Mule. ESIs and their input is also included in this. Policy 5250 is a result of Senate Bill 69. Policy 5430 is a result of House Bill 188. 5435 is also a result of House Bill 188. 5530 is Senate Bill 295, and then 7250 is Senate Bill 88. So those are the different legislations that affected these policies. The first 2, like I said, 5156 and 5154 are combined, so we're retiring the proposing for retirement 5154. The Safe Schools goes into our seclusion rooms, and the need to have a specific policy, specific identified rooms that meet the definition of seclusion if we're going to have seclusion rooms in our schools. So that touches on that. ESI, again, that's restraint. Also seclusion is in part of that one. Our electronic communication devices, this is a revision of the cell phone policy that we had. We chose as a district not to make strong revisions to our cell phone policy. We felt like it was very productive last year. Schools like to have some of their autonomy. But we did add a couple things that were required, such as AI glasses was something that was added to that. And then there was also a portion, thanks Mark, there's also a portion in there that required us to have an area where parents or students could go to communicate with their parents if they needed to, like a specific designated area, so that was added there as well. The substance abuse policy, this is partly a couple little changes here. Mostly it deals with if a student has been alleged to have violated substance abuse laws more than twice, so they're kind of, it's almost like one of those third strike things. But if they have done that, then we're required to refer them to the court, and so that is what we added there. The search and seizure policy is similar because it ties into if we were to do a search and find alleged drugs or other misuse, that we would have to report them. The school clubs policy, there's specific language that does not allow for non-curricular clubs in elementary school, and that was something that had to be added again as part of legislation. And then the acceptable technology resources, another place where we addressed AI a little bit. We put in our acceptable use agreement, and that's a separate document, but it's linked to this policy. So our technology director, Darren Draper, adjusted the acceptable use policy, or the acceptable use agreement that employees and students sign, which is linked to this policy, to include a prohibition of intimate images, the use of AI for that purpose. And then we also included in this policy specific language and definitions about obscene material. So the bill really hits on obscene material and using that phraseology, and our policy did not use that type of terminology in the policy, and so we added that into there. So that's a general overview of all of these, and then if you want to address any of them individually or specifically, I'm happy to take a couple questions.
Thanks, Craig. Do we have a motion regarding policy 5156?
I move that we approve policy 5156.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
So we have a motion by Board Member Clement and a second by Board Member Beeson. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving policy 5156, attendance policy, motion by Board Member Clement, second by Board Member Beeson, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That appears to pass unanimously. Next up, policy 5154. Do we have a motion to retire this policy?
I move that we retire policy 5154, compulsory attendance.
Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion by Board Member Wilson and a second by Board Member Clement. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving policy 5154, compulsory education for retirement, with a motion by Board Member Wilson and a second by Board Member Clement, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That appears to pass unanimously. Next up, policy 5182, safe schools. Do we have a motion?
I move that we accept policy 5182, safe schools, and approve it.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Board Member Beeson and a second by Board Member Wilson. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving policy 5182, safe schools, with a motion by Board Member Beeson and a second by Board Member Wilson, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That appears to pass unanimously. Next up, we have policy 5185. Do we have a motion regarding the policy?
I move to approve policy 5185.
Motion by Board Member Bateman. Do we have a second?
Second the motion.
Second by Board Member Clement. Is there any discussion regarding policy 5185? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of approving policy 5185, the use of ESI restraint and seclusion, with a motion by Board Member Bateman and a second by Board Member Clement, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That appears to pass unanimously. Next up, we have policy 5250, electronic communication devices. Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve policy 2550, electronic communication devices.
I'll second it.
I think I said that wrong. Policy 5250.
Okay. So we have a motion by Board Member Wilson and a second by Board Member Beeson. Any discussion? Craig, I'm really sorry. Mark is going to kill me. I'm not looking at him. Okay, so you brought this up, and I forgot that I actually had a concern about this. the AI glasses, is that not something that could potentially be a FERPA? I'm not looking at Mark. That could potentially be a FERPA violation, because I worry about whether it is like recording in schools, special education settings, bathrooms, locker rooms, unless you know they're AI glasses. And so I'm wondering, when it comes to student privacy, has there been a stance where districts have chosen to ban AI glasses because of FERPA issues? Because I get that we define this as this now qualifies as like an electronic non-school issued device, but I'm just wondering, by including them, does it kind of say that we're recognizing them, but then should we be putting any restrictions on them?
So as far as like student use, for example, like they are not a government entity, so their use of a glasses to record or whatever would not be a FERPA violation, because they have no FERPA requirement. Now, if it's a teacher or like an administrator or somebody that belongs to the government entity, or that is an employee of the government entity, and they're doing the recordings and they're doing the releasings, then yes, there could be a FERPA concern.
I'm just wondering, like, I think of it in terms of, right, like you may not know that you're being recorded, there's student information that's potentially being stored. I get that it's not a government thing, but stored on stored somewhere, and then now student data is being stored and maybe accessed. I get that the school's not storing it. I'm just wondering about student privacy concerns. This one makes me really uncomfortable.
I do
And
think
not the
that-
policy, just the AI piece of it.
Sure, I do think that there are some school districts that are banning them altogether. And so it just kind of depends on what we as Alpine think is the best for our students. The tricky thing has become when people are using them in their actual prescription glasses as well, right? And so, you know, that could be a problem on the other side, where we're preventing them from having access, because now that's their only set of prescription glasses, and they can't access the curriculum, because we're saying, well, you can get different prescription glasses, but you're going to have to go buy some different ones because we're not going to let you.
But there is a way to essentially like deactivate or turn off the AI piece of it. Like if they were purchasing prescription. Mark is trying to break me. Yes. So there's a way to turn it off, I guess.
Yes,
So I guess my
yes.
other question is can it be just something like AI glasses cannot be engaged in AI mode during school hours? Like, I'm not going to wordsmith because that makes Mark really irritated. All I'm going to say is I will probably vote no on this policy, not because I don't appreciate the work being done. I'm uncomfortable with privacy concerns around students, and my preference would be that we either take it back to the committee and reevaluate it, or we put some kind of restrictions in place. But I'm not going to wordsmith it in the meeting. I'm just going to either vote no if the motion goes through, but I want to explain why. It's not because I don't appreciate what everyone's doing, or my preference would be taking it back to committee, and can we just evaluate that maybe and look at it? So that's my comment.
Can I ask, does this merit in your, because of your concerns, a discussion about including this in employee standards?
You mean about
Yeah,
whether
use-
employees can use AI?
And the FERPA
So to
violations
me,
potential.
So to me, yes, there is I can't imagine a situation in which a teacher would do it. I can't imagine a situation in which a teacher would inadvertently forget to turn it off because they're just used to using the glasses. And I do worry about student privacy issues. So I do have a concern about that, but I also have a concern about even just a student wearing them. And I'll just give an example. There's an altercation and a fight in a school, and that gets posted on social media, and then all of a sudden student data is shared, or now student data is stored somewhere else, or a student maybe like just sitting in a class, and there's a student next to them who's receiving special education services or whatever, and now inadvertently, whether intentional or not, that data about a student accessing education and getting special education services is now stored somewhere, and somebody else has access to the data. It just makes me a little uncomfortable. And like I said, I don't know that there's any ill will, but maybe just unintentionally, like once again, forgetting that they're on. And I do worry because you do wear your glasses in places like bathrooms and locker rooms, and it could be something where a student is unintentionally violating policy, and then maybe images of what could be defined as child pornography are now stored on a different server, and it was something that was unintentional. This one makes me, I just feel like we need a deeper dive on it. I respect that policy committee has looked into it. So like I said, I would prefer that we table it and just research it, but if we want to go forward with the motion, I'm just going to vote no, but I want to clarify it's not because I'm upset with the
So,
word.
and I don't think that this policy really is promoting AI glasses. Rather, it's calling it an electronic communication device, right? So it's not allowed in the classroom, but it would be allowed like in between. It would be allowed at recess, before and after
But
school.
like you said, if a student's wearing AI glasses and they need those glasses in a classroom and they're using it to access curriculum, we're not going to tell them you can't wear AI. You know what I mean? So I just worry that this one needs a little bit more. And I get that the policy is not about AI glasses, but because we're including it now in the definition, I feel like it has opened up a little bit of a can of worms.
Okay.
And maybe I just opened it up. So.
Yeah, and I mean, our emphasis on the policy too was just to make it compliant with the legislation. So if there's things that you would like to tweak, certainly we could.
I move that we table policy 5250 for further discussion. I, for one, on the policy committee, do not understand the capabilities of AI glasses, period. And I need further information. So
we have a motion by Board Member Wilson and a second by Board Member Bateman to table the motion. Do we have any discussion regarding that?
Can you say that again so I can get a recording?
I don't think we had a motion, correct? Did
We had a motion by you and then Sarah.
Okay, we did have a motion. Yeah, table the motion.
Okay. So we have a motion by Board Member Wilson, a second by Board Member Bateman to table policy 5250, electronic communication devices. Any further discussion?
Craig, what is, we need to be compliant to what we have with the legislation by usually in July. Is this going to be a big deal if we wait a month?
Well, so the legislation doesn't just, it includes the AI glasses as electronic devices that would be prohibited, right? So even though it's not yet in our policy, it is technically against the law, so we can enforce it within our schools, but we do need to get that policy. We can probably try and get it up on our next board meeting.
Or at least to be able to make sure that when we talk about devices that the eyeglasses are included in parentheticals, like, or something, because it's not in there listed, right?
Yeah, and
as we wrote
I think the way that it's listed right now, like we're compliant with the legislation, right? So maybe all we're really looking for is exceptions or additional restrictions, perhaps, that we would want to add to tighten it down, specifically on the AI glasses where maybe we're not doing it to the cell phone or something.
Board President? So if that's Ada's motion and I had seconded, I still second it with her amendment. I mean, that she's amending to hold.
Okay. Sorry, I messed up. This is my bad. I should have, when Ada, you made the motion, and Sarah, you seconded it, I should have said, do you want to withdraw the motion and make a new motion, or we should have voted on it? So I need to course correct.
Okay.
So the motion was by Board Member Wilson and seconded by Board Member Beeson to approve policy 5250, the electronic communication devices. Do you want to withdraw your motion, or would you like for us to vote on the motion that you submitted?
I withdraw the motion.
Okay. Would you like to? Okay. So now let's start over again. So Ada, do you still want to make your motion about tabling policy 5250?
I would like to table policy 5250, electronic communication devices, for further discussion.
I'll second it.
Can I
Okay.
just speak to this for a second, President?
Have at it.
Do you want to let them go first?
Well, I was going to say,
I yield.
is there any discussion?
I yield.
So here's the deal. In this section, it says electronic communication device means a non-school issued electronic device, including but not limited to. I think that not limited to, it also applies to other electronic devices like glasses. I don't even think we need to put anything in there.
I think the legislation
It currently
requires
covers
us to.
AI glasses the way it is without that word in there.
Would you say
'Cause
that the
it's-
legislation requires us to put it?
It
In
did
writing?
specify that AI glasses are part of the definition.
The legislation has the definition.
That includes AI glasses.
Anyway, I'm just saying, as you take it back to committee, because I just think that it may not be necessary to call out. I mean, there's lots of other electronic devices, right, that we're not going to call out that we still want to prohibit. And so, anyway, just my thought.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, so we have a motion by Board Member Wilson and a second by Board Member Beeson to table policy 5250, the electronic communication devices. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that appears to pass unanimously. Sorry about the mix-up on that, guys. I apologize. Next up, policy 5430, substance use. I almost said abuse, Ada. Substance use.
Yes.
Do we have a motion regarding policy 5430?
I would like to make a motion that we pass policy 5430 with the following strike, which is under procedures, 1.3, I believe it is.
Okay, and do we have a second on that motion?
She's got to finish.
Yeah, I want to see what the strike is first.
Sorry, I
Bring that up for me, Craig.
Yes.
Or I could bring it up.
Yep. It's coming, and then under procedures, 1.3.
I don't think it's 1.3.
Yep, a little further, right there.
Oh, procedures.
Yeah, this refers to students who have carry or have permission to receive from staff epinephrine, like an EpiPen, or an inhaler for asthma. And all the rest of this policy is about substance abuse, but this one is, just this one paragraph is about legitimate use. And President King, do you want to express your concern about that?
yeah. Did we have a second on this?
I second it.
Oh, sorry. All of a sudden, I was like, I only have half of this down. My concern with this, and I brought it forward to Mr. Brinkerhoff, one of my concerns with this one is we have a separate policy regarding dispensing medication in school. My concern is it talks about how if you're carrying an epinephrine, insulin for diabetes, and asthma inhaler, that all those have required forms, and those need to be completed on file at the school. Obviously, that's always the goal, right? But it says failure to do so constitutes a violation of this policy. My concern is we're conflating students who are carrying life-saving medication with students who are potentially abusing other substances. These medications don't produce a high. They're not, sold recreationally. These are life-saving medications. My concern is that this section 1.3 really deals with an administrative function. You could have a student who's diagnosed with a life-threatening food allergy over a weekend and goes to school on Monday with an EpiPen, but they haven't filled out the forms because they're still scheduling an appointment, or a student that's transferring from another district to ours and doesn't have our form on file. And I worry that we're creating a punitive circumstance for students who are carrying life-saving medication. And so my preference, and I appreciate Board Member Wilson's motion on this, is that we just strike this section, because I feel that the dispensing medication in school is already covered in policy 5410, and it would not be appropriate to have it in this section where it talks about substance use. Medication is not the same as what we're referencing in this policy.
Okay.
That was my soapbox. Okay, do we have any other,
Craig, does this, I'm looking in SB 188, or sorry, HB 188 for this. Is this, I don't think this particular section that Ada had mentioned is anywhere, it's not quoted in the state law.
No, this
Correct?
is old language that's
Okay.
existed in this policy.
Okay,
And so this is not part of the requirement of
okay,
SB 188.
thank you, thank you.
Can I also point out that under citations, which is the last section, the policy 5410 is item number 2 there, dispensing and administering medications in schools. So this is addressed in a different policy.
Okay, so we have a motion by Board Member Wilson and a second by Board Member Clement to table this policy 5430, substance use.
Actually, I amended it. I amended it
Just amended it.
to strike it.
Oh,
That 1.3.
Struck that paragraph.
that's okay, I'm batting 1,000 tonight. Okay, so motion by Board Member Wilson and a second by Board Member Clement to approve policy 5430 while striking procedures section 1.3. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that appears to pass unanimously. Next up, we have policy 5435, search and seizure. Do we have a motion regarding this policy?
I move that we approve policy 5435, search and seizure.
And do we have a second?
Second.
So we have a motion by Board Member Clement and a second by Board Member Wilson. Any discussion on policy 5435? Seeing none, all in favor of approving policy 5435, search and seizure, with a motion by Board Member Clement and a second by Board Member Wilson, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That appears to pass unanimously. Next up, we have policy 5530, school clubs. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve policy 5530.
A motion by Board Member Bateman. Do we have a second? A second by Board Member Beeson. Any discussion regarding the policy?
I would just say this one's a little bit loosey-goosey to me. When you say non-curricular clubs in elementary, there are some clubs that you kind of go, they're called clubs, but we're going to have to now not call them clubs in order to comply with this law, because there are good things going on in the name of clubs. And so I appreciate the legislature's intent, but in practice, we're weaving around this rule. And I think we'll end up weaving around it. So I'm just saying there's a good intent. I'm not so crazy about its application.
Thank you. Any other discussion regarding this policy? Seeing none, we have a motion by Board Member Bateman and a second by Board Member Beeson to approve policy 5530, school clubs. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That appears to.
Opposed. I'm going to oppose.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ada. Okay, so we have 4 in favor and 1 opposed. Okay, thank you for that correction. Okay, next up, we have policy 7250, the acceptable use of technology resources. Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve policy 7250, acceptable use of technology resources.
Thank you. Do we have a second? We have a motion by Board Member Clement and a second by Board Member Bateman. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, with a motion by Board Member Clement and a second by Board Member Bateman, we have a motion to approve policy 7250, the acceptable use of technology resources. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That appears to pass unanimously. Next up, we have action items. First up, congrats, Craig. That was relatively painless. 9. We have, first up on the action items, we have the AESP contract approval. Superintendent.
We had last board meeting, the president of the Alpine Educators Support Professionals, Joe Nielsen, came and during community comments thanked the board for the contract and presented the results that the classified staff did ratify. So tonight's just, we could not get it on the board meeting just because of timing. And so we assured them we would get it on this board meeting for your consideration. Again, I'd like to thank our HR department, all those on the administrative team, and all those on the support professionals team for coming together. It took us a little while, but coming up with a solution to get the blue-collar folks that really are often the first time a student sees a member of our team as one of our support professionals. Often the last member of our team is seen by the support professionals, and all those that do so much in our schools to support the learning process. Just want to say thank you, and would recommend the board approve this contract.
Thank you. Do we have a motion regarding the AESP contract?
I move that we approve the AESP contract.
And do we have a second? A motion by Board Member Beeson and a second by Board Member Bateman to approve the AESP contract. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, with a motion by Board Member Beeson and a second by Board Member Bateman, all in favor of approving the AESP contract, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Next up, we have the naming of ATAC West in the Lake Mountain School District area. Lucas, we're very excited to have you here this evening. And I believe you have a presentation for the board, is that correct?
I do indeed.
Thank you.
All right, so first I wanted to thank you for allowing me to come and present. We're excited, especially out at ATEC West. We're very excited about the new school and the new building and everything, so let's jump right in. First, we wanted to say a big thank you to the Lake Mountain Board and the Alpine School District Board for their hard work, along with our patrons, families, teachers who've worked together to make a new post-secondary school a possibility. This is something that's been, the community's been actively asking for a while, and it's nice to see it taken seriously, so thank you so much. Let's go through the process really quick. I know you guys have heard this story multiple times lately, but we'll do it again. Committee formation. So to obtain the names of individuals to invite to serve on the naming committee, I talked with principals, teachers, and SCC members from both Horizon and ATEC West. And that right there is the list. I won't go through it, but we're excited about them. Naming process. So we set a survey via alerts June 22nd and 26th. We were on a shortened time schedule, so you'll see some of that kind of pop up in order to meet some financial deadlines. But we sent an email and text each time. Data was collected June 29th. We had a couple coming in after, and we accepted those. So overall, we had 17 responses, 28 name recommendations, and responses from Eagle Mountain and Saratoga Springs communities and parents and interns, which is what we call our students, just in case you're wondering. The naming process. So committee meeting, we met to review on July 6th. We followed the policy. First, we established norms and considerations. We had a small group review, then came together, and that's where the fun got started. Luckily, we had a pretty chill group, so it wasn't too intense. But we narrowed it down to 3 names, and we have begun discussion on mascots and colors. We're not quite there yet. That was a longer discussion. I think there were people who had more passion about that than even the names, so we'll be meeting again, no worries. All right, key naming considerations. So we know that naming a school is rare, and naming a post-secondary school, although it's happened a couple times now, but it's usually once in a generation. So we took it really seriously, and we wanted to show people who we are, especially that we're not like other schools, that we are post-high, that we are vocationally focused. So we wanted to make sure that came across. We know the outcome will ultimately influence generations of students, faculty, and community members. We wanted it to be unique, and we wanted it to represent who we are, as well as a name that people were actually excited about. So here's a few of them that were recommended. ATEC West Warriors. Some people wanted to just stay ATEC West. Lakeside Bees. My personal favorite's the bolded one. The Phoenix Rising Academy, Phoenixes, Unicorns, and Mermaids. So I think we got it. The Valor Community Transition Center Eagle, Shoreline Pronghorns, Pony Express, Post High, and Latimer Point Academy. So there's some good ideas there, especially that one in bold. I think we may just put that as our nickname. All right, so let's get down to it. So school name committee recommendations. First, Beacon Hill. Some of the mascots considered were the Navigators, the Pelicans, and the Otters for that one, although we're not gonna repeat, don't worry. But those are just the themes that we liked. We feel that in partnership with the interns that come through our school, we want to shine a light on not just job opportunities, but leisure activities, community resources, partnerships, and make sure that they know exactly where they want to go when they leave our school. And so shining that light, plus we're up on a hill, so there you go. The next one is Bridgepoint. Some of the mascots considered were the Trailblazers, the Mountaineers, and the Mustangs. We know that in partnership with our interns, we are a bridge from traditional education to the future. We want to make sure that we are a strong bridge, that we are operating on more than just having nice experiences in the community and nice job opportunities, but really building a life and really building interests and really fleshing out everything they're looking for. So together, we want to be that bridge to their future. Finally, Pinnacle Peak. Some of these mascots were the mountain climbers, the explorers, the hawks. We feel that we are the pinnacle of what the district offers, and we are the last opportunity to make sure that these interns go into their futures the right way. And we want them to be just as excited as this little person on this mountain when they leave our building. So, once again, thank you for your tireless efforts in securing a new school for our interns. We're all a bit emotional about it, and we're all really excited. So thank you so, so much. We know that we couldn't have done it without you, and we're excited for the future.
Thanks, Lucas. We appreciate it. We now have the naming of ATEC West in the Lake Mountain School District area, and I'm going to actually make the motion. I am going to move that we rename ATEC West Bridgepoint.
I will second.
So we have a motion by Board Member King and a second by Board Member Bateman. This is the name that was selected and approved by the Lake Mountain School District last week. And so it's coming to ASD essentially for concurrence. And just wanted to express my gratitude again, Lucas. You guys knocked it out of the park. The way that you are able to capture the mission and vision of ATEC West and how we support these interns in being successful in life, I'm just incredibly impressed. Naming a school is really, really hard, and you somehow have mastered it. So I just want to thank you. I know that we gave you a very, very compressed timeline to complete the task, and I'm just incredibly grateful that you were able to put forth the time and effort and energy to bring the community together to find such a great name. So I just wanted to express my gratitude to you publicly for that. Do we have any other discussion regarding the motion? Oh, no. We had a second. We are a quorum. There's 4 of us, so we are a quorum. Okay, so all in favor of renaming ATEC West Bridgepoint with a motion by Board Member King and a second by Board Member Bateman, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That appears to pass unanimously. Congratulations, Lucas. It is official.
I think that Bridgepoint over unicorns could be pretty classy, though. I'm just saying.
Okay, next up on our agenda, we have superintendent and board member reports. Superintendent. You're good? Okay. Do we have any board member reports that anyone would like to share?
Last week, I was down at the print shop to pick something up, and this is the time of the year where you can't see anything, like you have to weave back through all the stacks to actually find a human. So I just wanted to say thank you to Jake and his incredible team who worked so hard all summer long so that the millions of pages and things get printed and are ready when our students get back. And they don't get much recognition, but they are integral to the success of back to school starting strongly.
I want to just point out to our public and say thank you to Craig Brinkerhoff and his team. Every year when the legislative session ends, school districts throughout the state get a booklet that they have to work through. And Craig has dragged us through this point by point, and the staff that supports Craig in helping craft our policy to be in alignment with current code is quite a process. And anyway, I just want to say thank you to Craig Brinkerhoff and his team.
I just wanted to give a shout out. Like Stacy mentioned, sometimes our education support professionals are busiest at this time of year, and they don't a lot of times get the recognition they deserve. We have so many things. It always makes me laugh when people say that schools are closed in the summer, because I was at Frontier today, and they had summer school going on, and I have seen STARS program and summer meals, and extended school year is going on currently. Our physical facilities teams are moving portables and painting and replacing carpeting. Our transportation, are transporting students still, and I'm just incredibly grateful. It does get a little bit quieter, but there is still a lot of work, and for many of our departments, this is actually the busiest time of year. And so I just wanted to extend my gratitude for all of them, for the work that a lot of times goes unseen, but if it doesn't get completed, that's only when people notice. One of my things about transportation is nobody notices that we're transporting 18,000 students a day until we have a bus accident, and then someone notices really quickly. So I'm just grateful for all the people who show up and do the work. And a lot of it very unrecognized. So I just want to express my gratitude to them. Do we have any other comments?
I wondered if the superintendent would explain the medals that he gave during study session. Would you mind?
Happy to. In study session, for those of you who were not here, we recognized our elementary science team. And they have worked so diligently over this past year to develop the first ever comprehensive science curriculum for our elementary teachers. It is so good that the state is coming to visit them to copy a lot of what they're doing. And it's on an open platform. They took the state's curriculum, and Sam, you can correct me if I'm misspeaking here, and then customized it, reframed it, worked really, really hard. And packaged it for our teachers, and I saw it for the first time about 5-6 months ago. And so we recognize them tonight. They presented, there's a website, you can get on and look at it. It's just phenomenal work that supports learning in the classroom at high levels in a cohesive and comprehensive way. For that, I presented to those teachers and Sam Rencher, who has led this effort. He's a phenomenal teacher. He has a mind for science and in applying science in ways that are powerful for the student. I've personally been taught by him with science principles. We did it as a leadership team just recently. And he taught us about the stars, and just his approach, his love, his passion in supporting these teachers was phenomenal. And because of that, the superintendent 2 years ago commissioned a coin called the Influencer, and it's an award provided by the superintendent of schools to individuals for the significant influence they have had or are having upon other humans. And so that coin has been given out now 21 times, is all. And it was my privilege to present that elementary science team and Sam that coin tonight for the influence. It's called the Influencer Award. And if you want to see what the impact this is going to have, stay tuned next year when we report some science data. The initial data that Dr. Sumption reported tonight is one grade level in one unit had a 41% increase in the results after that unit was delivered by master teachers. So that's the award, that's its significance, and I'm trying to find ways to recognize amazing people like the 3 teachers we saw tonight.
Thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to adjourn our meeting?
I move that we adjourn.
Motion by Board Member Clement and a second by Board Member Bateman. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned at 6:54 p.m. Thank you all for being here.